Gary, what's going on? How are you?
You know, it's funny because I got to see what going live on somebody else's account. I go live. I did about 300 episodes last year, actually more than that. And so I very rarely go live on anybody else's account. And so it
Right.
was the weirdest thing. I get the big button that says you're going live.
You're like, I don't know what this looks like when I'm not the
Yeah.
one going live, you know?
Hey,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
let's Zach, like we did yesterday, and let's bring our audience into it. I like to
Yeah.
sync up. Do you want to do that with
I would
me?
love I would love to do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
sitting or standing, everybody can do this. Okay, right foot over, right leg over, either or, sitting or standing. Right arm underneath left armpit, left arm on top. Yeah, that's a good.
There we are.
Right arm underneath left armpit, left arm on top, right foot over the left foot, head to the left and body to the right. And we're syncing all of our energies together for this conversation today. We'll do it through 6 breaths, 3 through the mouth and 3 through the nose. So starting 3, 2, 1 through the mouth, breathe in. 2, 3, 'through the nose, 2, 3. Wow, I feel that.
It's so relaxing.
So when we walk, within 30 minutes, within 15 minutes, our strides sync. Within 30 minutes, our heart rhythm syncs, and we can measure that with equipment like Heart Map Institute. What we found is that by doing this with 6 breaths in the same position, counter-rotated, which is technically it's a fetal position, that we sync in 6 breaths. And so we do this before every meeting. We do this before we eat food. Like you see us in a restaurant, you see our team, everybody
Yeah.
does that before we eat. And we do it when a conversation gets gets off the rails. We'll stop and we'll sync up, like if there's emotions getting involved with it. Because what we found is that the most powerful way for us to communicate is when we're synced. And quite often, people are thinking about their lives and their jobs and their food that they're going to eat and all this other stuff. And when we're present, we want to be present. So, and it was great doing that with you yesterday.
Yeah, it really was. And it was great this time and great to be joined by everybody on this live who did it along with us. Thank you. I can feel that. You said something to me when we did this together. What did you say? Something about proximity, about proximity is not needed for, frequency or something along those lines.
Yeah. You're an Aries, you're going to feel me more than like there's certain signs that you're going to feel, right? But proximity, if you think about it, we've been taught that we're in this quantum physics world. And so we believe it's like I got to touch. It's like a virus. I've got to get a virus from you. But the truth is, quantum physics is what dominates our world, or what rules our world. And if we know that if we cut a plant, the other plants in the room feel it. There's science around that. We know that if we hurt a tree, that the other trees in the forest will go to protect it. So why are we any different?
Yeah. Trees will communicate with each other and they'll warn each other of certain things.
Yes.
Right? That's, yeah.
And plants will do it too. Just look at Bruce Lipton's work, or Dean Radin, Connected Minds, or Lynn McTaggart. Those are like the intention experiment. Those are all like worldwide scientific studies with lots of evidence. But it's pretty hard. I mean, I grew up in Canada. So we grew up with an imperial, I'll give you an example how this works. We grew up with an imperial measurements, like feet, like in the United States. So feet and inches, but all the other European countries are kilometers and centimeters and stuff like that. So we're a metric country, but if you ask how tall you are, or you go to a driver's license, they'll still say I'm 6'1", or I weigh 175 pounds or whatever. Or how many kilometers what's your mileage on your car? Well, it's 160 kilometers. So it takes a long time to change those basic beliefs. And we have this Newtonian belief system that an apple falls from a tree and that's what gravity is. But we still can't answer, well, then if gravity is, trees have for example, they have no vasodilation. So how does water get past that 10-foot mark in a tree, like without it? The tree can't push it up, so there has to be another way that those leaves get it. And that means that gravity isn't the way that we think it is. That means that things aren't the way. And here's another one that I get a lot, because coming from the clinical environment, it's biologically true, scientifically true, that every virus and disease in the history of mankind is already encoded in your DNA. That's how we develop herd immunity. Like we develop immunity, we pass it on to our children and so on. So how is it that you can catch something from me if I already have it? It's impossible. Yeah, it can reveal in your system. That means that I can measure it in your system. Yeah, well, that virus is more active. So what is the mechanism that did this? And this is where Luc Montagnier, he was a famous virologist that won the Nobel Prize back in the 80s. And he would inject himself with blood from an AIDS patient and say, this ain't true. And we have these big examples about how our world does work, but there's so much energy and momentum around the narrative of how it works. And that's what I love about what you're doing is you're breaking a paradigm with what you're doing. You're taking, I know you wrote the programs. This is what people don't know. And my audience, I want them to know that you actually were a health practitioner. You went into nutrition school and you actually wrote the content of the programs that helps guide people from being a doctor into a health coach, is where the market is going right now.
Precisely. Yeah. So my background is for anybody who doesn't know me, my background is in clinical social work. So I was working in the healthcare system as part of an integrative care team, helping people with depression, anxiety, and also helping people with behavioral change. And somewhat ironically, a lot of the modalities and the methodologies I was using started to feel and look a bit like coaching.
Right.
And I realized, I really didn't want to be a part of that system anymore. That was very pathology based. That was it seemed like it almost conditioned people to be passive recipients of their own care rather than be an active, responsible participant in their own wellness. And that there was a big difference there. I wanted to be part of the solution, and I saw health and wellness coaching as part of that solution. And I want to give credit to my team because I'm one of the people on the team that have developed the curriculum, and particularly for me around the coaching curriculum. So those of you who are in the program, you'll know me as one of your resident coaching guides. Those of you who are considering it, I developed the coaching curriculum that you go through. And these are the types of things, Gary, I wanted to say, like, that whole notion of it's already within you and it's simply a matter of revealing it, that it's interesting because we started that conversation by talking about examples like sickness and disease. It goes for all the positive things as well. Health, well-being, all the emotions you're after, peace, happiness. These are all things that are within you that simply need to be revealed, right? And oftentimes these things are associated with your natural state of being. So it's more about removing all the obstacles and everything that stands in the way of your natural state of being, which is one of harmony and well-being and wellness. So a lot of the coaching methodology is about that. It's about learning how to trust your body, learning how to listen to yourself, learning how to experiment with things in life to see what works for you and what doesn't, and carving your own path rather than just being another source, another professional, another entity telling you how to live your life.
So what I say to people, and this is part of we're going to go because we have never told the world. So we have fascial maneuvers. maneuvers. 20 million people around the world doing it. They're healing themselves. 500,000 practitioners in the last year alone have joined and started deploying this in their practices of all kinds, orthopedic surgeons to psychologists, trauma therapists to nutritional health specialists, integrative medicine, everything. But we've never told people how we do it. We've never actually, and we never told people exactly what we believe in the body. Because in other words, we required a different belief system in order to let fascial maneuver, to think of fascial maneuvers. And fascial maneuvers is a tool that facilitates a belief system. And the first thing I want people to know is that the cure is inside of you. And your body, even when I give you a medicine or a drug or a prescription or a surgery, that all that does is it gives your body time and space or produces some event in your body to stimulate a function that your body already is capable of. And if I believe that it's the medicine that does it, even the food, and I'll give you a good example because I want people to eat good food. But if you're in fear that your spouse is going to leave you and that you're going to be without a home, it don't matter what kind of food you eat because that low level fear by default takes away your body's ability to process the nutrients out of it. And it's time that we start looking at this, at the quantum aspects of the fact that all this disease, body's not at ease, starts off with, I have fear in my body. I have sadness. And as I do not acknowledge that over time, that starts to become more and more part of me. And eventually it's going to cause something in my body I can measure.
Yeah. This idea that our beliefs and our perceptions can totally shape our entire energy field, can change and shape how energy moves within us and can change the outcomes of things based on belief alone. That's incredible. And I don't know, again, I'm excited to see what your theory is when you release it and all of that. But for me, that's one of the questions, like I'll ask my clients, like, do you believe this is working for you? Yes or no, because embedded in that answer is the likelihood of success, right?
That is the success.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you. That is
I mean,
success.
it as a coach. I mean, we soften it up, but that to be true. If somebody doesn't believe it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, totally. So when we work with people, and it sounds like this is again something we share very deeply, we start with our beliefs. We start with our perceptions. I was telling you when we were talking the other day, how so much of coaching focuses on the behavioral change, and we were kind of vibing with there's so much that comes before behavioral change.
Yes.
Behavioral change is the last link in a chain of things that results in the behavior. And what was so cool, because I was talking to you how when I work with people, and this is how we train our coaches, to really work on the causal level and how there's different dimensions of health. And a lot of times when you access the mental, emotional, and spiritual dimensions of somebody's health and well-being, those are the causal points for the physical level, for the physical dimension. A lot of times those shifts will create changes in the symptoms and the conditions that they're experiencing. And I thought it was so cool because I was telling you, behavior is the last link in the chain.
Yes.
And if you shift what comes before it, the behavior will almost adjust itself automatically. And you said to me, and sometimes even if the behavior doesn't change, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And somebody on your team said something incredible about that. She's had amazing results and has not changed an actual thing in terms of her activity in her life.
And this is what we're going to show people, because I don't believe that another program is going to help them. I believe that at this stage, living the life that I live, like for people who have been following, I mean, our audience knows, they've seen me change so radically in the last, 3-4 years, but in the last 2 months, I've changed so radically that every 3 days, my face recognition doesn't work on my phone. And because I'm in this process of change, but it's because of the lifestyle. But the lifestyle, we had a organic, healthy, clean, chemical-free lifestyle since 2020, completely. But that all being said, there was these incremental changes, and then there's this massive shift. That massive shift came with the way that I process the emotions, the way I feel, and the beliefs that I have about who I am. Like if I believe that I need another program to help me, if I believe that I need a shaman or another plant medicine ceremony, or if I believe I need a new diet to help me, then it's not going to work. And this is what I love about what your program, because I've seen a lot of coaching programs, and they're very mechanical. If you get this, you do this. And yours focuses directly into who you are and how you feel and what you believe. Because without that, nothing else works.
Yes. Yes, precisely. And it's one of our core concepts is bioindividuality, which is this idea that everybody's unique. Sorry about the dog. Everybody's unique, right? Everybody is going to have different things that work for them and different things that align with their beliefs and their preferences and their chosen lifestyle. And it's about helping people access that and discover that within themselves, and also creating a relationship based on safety and trust, which can then through, co-regulation, some of the stuff that coming out of polyvagal theory can then allow somebody to relax to the extent that they can realize true wellness, true well-being, right? And so it's about creating that container with which somebody can truly be safe enough to be vulnerable and authentic and explore the different dimensions of themselves, and then find and access the true well-being that I believe is their birthright, and it's not about mechanical. It's not about if you do this, then do that.
Yeah.
Right. It's not about follow this formula. Yeah. None of it is like that, because this stuff is not formulaic. It's much deeper. It's not mechanical. It's much deeper than that. This stuff is based on itself.
You said something really important because no one else really focuses on this that I know of. And I could tell that this program is an embodiment of you. Safety. In order for the body to release from a fascial relief, the body has to feel safe.
Yes.
Otherwise, it holds tight. In order for the trauma to release from the fascia, that's where it's held, in our opinion, our belief, because we don't have emotions up here. We don't even have pain in our brain. These just tells you that there's something going on. In order for the trauma to release, the body has to feel safe. And what is the opposite of safe in the human body? It's stress. And when I'm in stress, I don't feel safe. That's the biological reason stress exists. It's to make us feel unsafe, to move away from danger. And as we become more stressed, we see less and less options. And when you said that to me the other day, I knew for sure that was the foundation that makes the difference, because people are teaching the mechanics of how to help people. But if you don't feel safe and you don't trust yourself, your body, then you cannot trust the people that are around you. You can't trust your client. You can't trust your coaches that are coaching you, or the practitioners. You can't trust. If I feel unsafe inside, I see unsafe here. That's the lens I look through.
Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's the mirror, right? The outer world is a reflection of our inner world. I'm going to see unsafety all around me,
right,
if that's how I feel within myself. And truly, coaching and everything that you offer is a gateway to experiencing that safety. And I've seen a couple people, there you go, Jackie. I've seen a couple people comment, like what Jackie just said, is what are some ways that we can begin to create safety for ourselves? What do you typically, tell me.
Nikki, this is my experience, okay? And this is what I'm going to share. I came from 8 concussions. For those of you guys who know my story, the U.S. government detained me for 27 months illegally, held me in solitary confinement for 17 months. And I had 8 concussions. I had several while I was detained. I lost my ability to write, to use a computer after 20 years of trying to heal my body, and then I became a practitioner. So the trauma trauma is stress in the body that the body can't self-actualize, can't move away. And when the body's in stress, all of my consciousness comes down into fight or flight. So it comes right here.
Yeah.
So in order to relieve trauma, I have to step outside and look at the event from a different perspective. But I can't do that while a minute. That's the whole thing. So the very first thing is to take the body out of stress. And so for me, what I did was I started off with these resets. And you know, I had all the best clinicians, 52 practitioners, the best in the world. We handled every celebrity you know, every pro athlete that you can imagine, the US Olympic team, with a running team, the volleyball team. We were fixing what everybody else couldn't. I had access to all the therapies, all of the programs. So when people say, hey, what about this new program or this new technology? I pretty much tried it all. And at the end of it, it all worked while I was using it. But the second I stopped using it, went away, it stopped working. My body degraded and my trauma came back. And so for me, these fascial maneuvers, like that little one we did, you became calm, that takes the body out of biological stress. Now, if I stretch my muscle like this, so I stretch in yoga, I'm actually create a stress response and the stress to then drop my baseline down. But I have to fire adrenaline or norepinephrine and cortisol on that stretch. That means that my body has the chemicals for 4 hours. Now I'm tired, so I'm calm, but those chemicals have to abate over 4 hours. So that I'm not out of stress. Where a fascial maneuver, we biologically takes the body out of stress in somewhere between 7 and 15 minutes. So if you do that 2 to 3 times per day, and I tell people, you don't even have to do a whole program. If you just take one fascial maneuver that calms you down, and you do it 3 times a day, what happens is your stress ratchets it up, comes down, ratchets it up, comes down. Rather than going all the way up to the end of the day, having a drink or food or whatever, and then crashing your body. So if we manage our stress throughout the day by doing a simple fascial maneuver, then the body, we can step out after 28 days, which is the human habituation cycle. We can step outside of ourselves and get a new perspective.
Yes. Yes. If I could be vulnerable and share something with you and with this group, I work with, I've done a lot of work with coaches, and I believe that coaches, should work with coaches, and this is part of the culture, And one of the things that was fascinating for me is I realized that and probably due to childhood, my upbringing, I realized that my physiology sort of almost wanted to be in a state of stress, like it was familiar, right?
Sure.
Like so I would subconsciously create situations and scenarios in my life that were stressful, right? And then what the fascinating thing was that I realized that what I actually was doing, it wasn't that I wanted the stress, it was that I wanted the relief on the other side of stress. And so it was almost like the build up to experience the relief, the stress to experience the relief. And I was creating these patterns in my life. And once I became aware of that, and I was like, oh, wait a second, what I actually want is the relief, the freedom, and the relaxation that comes on the other side of the stress. Well, do I have to let it get that bad to experience that?
So there's a couple of things. This is where our whole system, you can use 1,000 different ways to codify a system. My background is encryption. That's why the US government detained me. I wouldn't give them my encryption keys. I was holding secrets, right? But so I think of the body like a computer, and you can use any system. I used astrology because it was a language that I could learn very quickly. I had a lot of reference points, and you're an Aries. So Aries are fiery. They charge. When Aries have a problem, they go head first into it because that's your response. But if you are a Pisces, not so much. You'd be like, as soon as that challenge comes, you kind of bolt out of there. If you're a Cancer, you just absorb it all. So one of the mechanisms, and I know this to be true because I have a Grandmaster Aries in me, and I'm an Aries rising, so I act like an Aries quite a bit. And that was my MO. That's the way that I approach the world. But that's not necessarily the other part of Aries is super good leader. Very, very good at understanding patterns and repetitions. Very good at figuring systems and creating structure. Those are the really positive attributes. The not so positive attributes in today's society is I'm going to go to war. And that comes out in little ways, because what we do in small things is how we manage big things in our life.
Yes.
So the short answer is that every time I'm presented with a stimulus, a response, there's a chemical produced in my body. Like one of them, for example, confidence and fear are the same biological set of hormones, the same cocktail for both. Sadness and joy. That's why you cry when you're in joy and when you're sad. Anxiety and excitement, same chemical. Love and compassion. So when that hits me, that when I get that feeling and that sensation, my perception tells me which one it is. Is it confidence or is it fear? And if I'm under stress, biological stress from my day, my habit is to go to the one that protects me, which is the fear. And this
Yes.
is why we were not meant to be at, like, our body, we were at work all day. When I was, you're younger than me, I'm 55. When my children are your age, literally, just a little bit younger than you. But when I had my children, I worked a $500,000 a year contract job, and I worked about 30 hours a week. Now, that same job today is 60 to 80 hours a week, and it's not even $500,000. So that means that people have to do more things. Your generation grew up having to pound the pavement just to get ahead, which means that we're always in stress biologically by the tasks that we do. So so basically we choose the negative one, and if I do that over and over again over 28 days, I have a habit of it. That's why we go to a rehab for 28 days. So it's breaking that cycle. That's why our 28-day reset has been so powerful in transforming people, because we break the habit for 28 days.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fascinating how we could be experiencing the same exact thing physiologically, and our perception of it determines what it is, you know? Yeah. Is it fear? Is it excitement? You know,
Yeah,
like,
you have to ask yourself, because like right now, like today's a day where there's a lot. This is a net 9 day. This is the most powerful, let's say, manifestation day. To take action on your new manifestation. This is the most powerful day in 26,000 years to do that. So it's an Aries day, by the way. It just happens to be that you're an Aries, and I got lots of Aries in me. So this is the day where this morning I literally had a little bit of fire and fear and excitement and that this morning, and I found myself snipping at myself in my self-talk this morning, which is completely not normal. And then as I got on my live, I asked, and it put in the comments, were you feeling that today? Were you feeling a little stressed? Were you feeling like a little reactive or a little fearful? And people put that in the comments if you're feeling that, and you'll see that. I mean, it was something that was real. And this is why I look at astrology. It's a weather forecast. It just tells me that today it's going to rain, and it's going to rain for everybody. Your version of it, my version of it might be different, but I may like the rain. You may not like it, but it's going to rain. Yeah, snipping on myself. Yeah. Especially for Aries, yeah, all of our Aries. And yeah, I want to mention that so people get some time. If you put human in the comment, just the word human, there's a special offer that Nutrition School IIN is going to send out to you. So you can put human in the comment, just write human in the comment, and they'll send it to you right away. By the way, ManyChats is one of the engines that we use to start because we have a team of people, because we can get 1,000 to 2,000 DMs a day sometimes. So ManyChats is the front end, and then we use a thing called Front to distribute and manage it on the back.
that's awesome. I'm not sure. Do you know if it needs to be all caps, or is just regular human fine?
It should just be able to take regular human. It's actually artificial intelligence. So you could, the way we've used it in the past is it picks up on the word.
Cool.
So like we've used it to say, okay, this belongs over here. It's, can you help me with this? Or, hey, I like what you did. So we would separate them into, I need help, or I want to comment. And then they would filter into our support people from that.
Awesome.
Yeah, somebody said it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Incredible. Yeah, so 28 days, because I've heard different numbers throughout my career, but 28 days is the sweet spot in terms of kind of creating a new habit.
I'll give you, 21 is the creation of the habit. 7 days is a human cycle, 7 days. That's why a week is 7 days to lock it in. I'll give you an example how it works. The reason why a rehab is 28 days is it's not because insurance pays for 28 days. It's because statistically, they know that a habit is locked into our nervous system at 28 days. So if I want to break a habit, I have to remove you from the habitual because the way I break a habit is to recognize I'm in it. And I can't recognize I'm in a habit when I'm in it. I have to stand outside of it, which is that 28th or 29th day.
Yeah.
So the human perception cycle is 3 days. So when you have a new emotion or new piece of information, it takes 3 days to start to process it. That's why a psychotic hold like a 5150. Look at how the government and medicine holds you. At 5150, if you have a psychotic moment, they hold you for 3 days to make sure, and then they check, are you really psychotic or are you not? And then the other one is 28 days, which is a rehabilitation. That's a physical. So 3 days is perception. 28 days is the physical embodiment of that perception.
This also points to the benefit of working with someone like a coach, because we've all had those experiences of wanting to make a change in our lives, and you're working against years and years of conditioning, in order to do that. So to have the container of, I know we already talked about safety and trust, but also to have the container of consistency, and that sort of accountability, which, by the way, I always say it's not about, coaching is never about holding somebody else accountable. It's about helping them be accountable to themselves. These are the changes that they want to make, that they're committing to, and you're simply bearing witness to that and guiding them through that process. But now I can see, this is why too, by the way, this is why like coaches will ask me, if I'm like consulting with a coach, or even in our program, we don't teach coaches to do this work by the session. A session can certainly be helpful, but a one-off session is usually not going to generate the amount of consistency that somebody needs. No, you create a program, just like you have on your site. Your programs are incredible. You create a program so that program allows somebody, gives somebody the container to stick with it long enough to create sustainable change. Now I'm hearing, for myself, certainly not to have a program any less than 28 days.
What I did was I was analyzing. I mean, I started my career in medicine working at we were a consultant, our contractor worked at 180 Center in Beverly Hills. That was one of them, and then some other ones where, in other words, I went 3 days a week into an addiction recovery center. And what we did is we ran our own little study. So we put about 95 participants through a study. What we did is we helped them, we gave them a breathing technique and back then a movement technique that helped them with their diaphragm take the stress out. So like the reason why people use drugs or go to a negative behavior is because there's too much stress or emotion and they have to get it out. And that the drug is the fastest way for them to resolve that feeling. And so we gave them a way to remediate the feeling. When you feel this, do this. And the recidivism rate, or the amount of people that are sober after 30 days coming out of rehab is only 12%. That's an international standard. We had 88% after 18 months. And what we just simply did is we gave them a mitigation strategy. And this is what coaching is. It's a mitigation strategy. It's because I'm like back when my days of bodybuilding, I would coach, as I was going pro, I would coach amateur bodybuilders. And some of the mitigation strategies are, one of them is take away the scale. Because if you have a plan and they step on that scale every day, they will fail. They'll miss their weight 100% of the time. Because they're measuring, and as they measure, if they don't measure based on expectation, they'll do something stupid. The other way that we do it is we have them check in on a frequency. That frequency is regular. So the more regular, the more habitual you can create structure in your life. Like, for example, people have routines, but the ones who want to create structure, first of all, their routines are what hold them in. So, for example, if you always go for coffee at 7:45 every morning, and you get a coffee, and then you go to work and you sit down, and you grab a snack, and you do all these different things. If you don't break those habits, there is no way that your body is going to change weight or behavior, and I'll tell you why. What's your favorite food? I'll give you an example.
Oh my goodness. I really love guacamole. Does that count?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm in guacamole land. It's funny because we were talking last night. It's like, how many times can we eat guacamole? Well, 3 times a day.
Yeah,
So guacamole, do you like yours spicy or do you like it not?
I like it every which way. Spicy's good.
Spicy with a lot with salt in it, lime.
Yes. Yes.
Do you do you like habaneros and jalapenos in there, or just
Not so much. Onion, I love in there.
onion? Okay, do you
Yeah.
like the red onions or the white onions?
Red.
Okay, red onions. They'll get red over here too. So red onions. Do you like cilantro in there?
Yes.
And a little bit of
Yes.
lime? Okay, now when you eat the guacamole, the chip that you use, is it a triangle or is it a round?
Triangle.
Triangle. Okay, and is it hard or is it really, really, really easy to break? Is
It's
it
pretty hard.
yeah, pretty hard, the traditional style,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then when you eat it, that first bite, what does it feel like?
Just this delicious balance of like saltiness and fat and flavor.
Okay,
Yeah, it's great.
now test your mouth.
Hmm.
You feel it?
I do.
Salivating.
Yep.
Your stomach's getting ready. So our body is built on a series of habits, and it doesn't even have to be true.
Hmm.
Once the perception says it's there, the body starts executing the habits. And so if I'm trying to change a behavior, but I have my daily habits the same thing, and I'm trying to change, I'm trying to lose weight or set a new goal, and I don't disrupt my habits, then my body is already doing the same things. And when I do those things, I have the same thoughts and the same feelings
Mm,
that go along with it, and I produce the same chemicals.
right.
So change requires a disruption of habits. And this is what a coach, when I haven't been coached, I go to a coach and the coach then disrupts that pattern. So pattern disruption is what we want for change.
Yes. Pattern disruption. I used to do some when I started coaching, I was taking different trainings and some of them were a little bit unconventional. And I remember I had one was all about pattern disruption. And I had this one client, and by the way, this is not a recommendation to anybody listening. But it's funny because it speaks to pattern
Tell me
disruption
all the
where
secrets.
I would have a glass of water on my desk, and she would go into these same sort of thought loops, these same thought patterns, and I'd see her going into it. And so one time I was like, all right, how can I break this pattern? So I just picked up the glass of water and just poured it on my desk. And she was like, broke the pattern completely.
Yeah.
Right? Totally was out of that loop now, broke free from it almost instantly, and was able to see it from a completely different vantage point. And from that vantage point was able to make different decisions around it because she had a new level of awareness. And then it broke the pattern so much that in the future, she started to go into those thought patterns and those thought loops, and she almost would stop herself because she'd be aware of it because of that experience.
Experience. Yeah.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
want to, so when you break a pattern, so the human garage philosophy is based around a simple premise that we live in, irrespective of how unique we think we are, we live in a fluid adaptive biological computing system that basically is like an iPhone. We're all the same at the core. We run different apps, we have different cases, we have different programs that we run on it, but the basic core of us is the same. So when you disrupt a habit, the way that you lock in a habit is by firing hormones. So one of the ways that we do it in media is we go bang, or we give you a flash or a sensation that fires dopamine. So we become addicted to our phones and to those stimuluses. Another way to do it is the most powerful way to fire a hormone in your body is to put something in your mouth. So when you disrupt a pattern, and it's a pattern that you want, put something in your mouth and then save it. And then what happens is your body remembers and starts associating the thing that you put in your mouth with that new pattern. So, and I'll tell you, one of the ways this is really, really, it holds trauma in our bodies and people don't get it is that I was sexually abused as a kid. Okay. And I know there's lots of people out here that have been, I've been very vocal about it and how I discovered it and all that. But there were things that would happen. Like when I was in an abuse cycle, I would go to something to eat, typically, like ice cream, get rid of my sadness. Now, if I have, for the rest of my life, unless I have a 28-day break away from food totally, or that item in particular, level 1, level 2 is food, fasting, then every time that I eat that ice cream, the body fires that series of hormones, which then the brain resolves it and goes back to the memories. That's why when you eat your mom's cooking or you listen to a song on the radio, you transport in time to where you were to relive the experience. So even if I'm now just eating the ice cream and my life is happy, I'm bringing back the trauma from the time that I did that. So I go back when people had trauma and I ask you, like, what did you eat?
Yeah.
And breaking that cycle is this is the mechanics of reprogramming the human computing system. This is what we're going to be teaching in our 12-month program starting in May.
Wow.
Because we've never taught anybody, but all of our programs are based on it. They're just subtle because you go through it and you start to reprogram yourself. That's the whole point. And can you imagine, like the biggest thing that I would say, there are people that have issues with self-discipline. And so we align like free programs and classes and facilitation that they can go on, and their 28-day resets, all free, all non-charging. All of our programs all the way up to practitioner are free of charge. But if people want to take an investment and make an investment and they need it, go get a coach. Go work with a coach, because the coach is going to do exactly what you said. They're going to ask the questions and disrupt the patterns. And it's, if I have accountability to one person, and it's not about accountability, but if I sit down with that one person and that is my pattern disruption to have the conversation, they're going to ask the question that I don't see.
Yeah.
That's what a coach is.
Yes. Yes. People sometimes ask me, like, what's the most important quality as a coach? And it's tough to say the most important one, because I think there's a handful that are really, really crucial. But usually I answer curiosity, because if you can, because the greatest tool a coach has is questions. And it's so fascinating if you look at what questions really do, right? Questions direct somebody's thinking. It's actually incredible, right? We ask one another anything. If I ask you to, identify things that are brown, you weren't thinking about that before, and now because I asked you the question, it directed your thinking.
Right.
That's the power of questions. So when we bring that into the coaching relationship, and great questions, sometimes people are like, try to memorize questions and stuff. I'm like, that's great, that's fine, especially when you're starting out. I can understand. The best questions come from just being curious. Being truly curious about this individual in front of you and asking more than telling. That's a huge, that's just advice for, I think, anybody trying to support someone. And you do that, and to your point, Garry, you can help people see these blind spots that they never even recognized, because you're directing their thinking in such a way, and you're providing such a reflection for them to see themselves from an entirely different angle. Especially with these sort of deeper things that we don't always talk to everybody about. We don't always disclose to everyone. When we have that relationship where we do go there and we do explore it and we get asked about it, even if we're trying to do something new, we're having trouble with it, we start to explore it, we get asked about it, brand new opportunities and possibilities become available to us.
Yeah, it's a big part. I want people to hear this, that if you want to change your life, you need to have a pattern disruption. Most people in today's world could use a coach. You need a community in order to heal, because healing, we've been taught to be private, and privacy is really the greatest disease of all mankind. We have a problem and we become shameful, or because of a problem, we feel like we're not accepted. And that further perpetuates the trauma and then the behaviors. And what we're doing, collectively, what Human Garage is doing is building this massive community around the world where people online are helping each other, and then they get together in person. What you guys are doing at nutrition school is you're building community around programs and coaching. And what I love about it is this isn't nutrition school's coaching program. This is a part of you. This is your belief system.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I know that to be true now. And I was I'm more than hesitant to refer programs out, especially coaching programs, unless I know the heart of the program. And before I met you, I'll be very honest, I just was in observation mode. But after I met you and I heard your story, I realized that was something that I wanted people to gravitate towards. I could feel that. And by the way, if you're watching this, please type help in the comment sections if you haven't done, or sorry, help, human in the comment section, and you're going to get sent an offer directly from nutrition school, something that you can use right away. It's going to save you 45% on any of their programs. So type in human in there. What's next for you? Like you built these programs, you're heading the ship. So what do you see is your activities over the next year or two? How are you adapting or changing to what's going on in the world?
Yeah, yeah. Well, my biggest intention is to continue to explore emerging research, emerging sciences, emerging experiences, and continue to implement them into our trainings in a way that we're able to continue to create world-class coaches through our training, to continue to adjust and improve our programs, not just create new products. That's certainly a goal as well, but also to improve these ones we have, especially our flagship health coach training program, which has been around, we've continued to update it, but it's been around for over 30 years at this point, before anybody even knew what a health coach was. So my biggest thing is that we've always been on the forefront of this field, and that's not to be on the forefront. You must continue to be on the forefront because the forefront changes.
Yes.
Humanity progresses, and that's beautiful to see. The collective consciousness shifts and evolves. So that's what it is. It's to continue to learn and grow and then share and teach in a meaningful way what's happening, where we're going. Because I do believe immensely in the power of the coaching profession, and health coaching in particular is an answer to so many of the gaps and some of the problems that are in the conventional healthcare system. So
I have a lot of my colleagues, not so much anymore, but as they came through the clinical days, a lot of them were clinicians. They were doctors or clinicians. I had 1,500 of some of the world's best doctors as my personal patients or clients, and what I'm starting to see now, and I'm hearing them or they're reflecting back to me is, and a lot of them now that have been through our programs are starting to walk away from the medical license and say, I can do better by helping coach somebody. Because if I'm prescribing a drug, that's the last line. That's when everything else has failed. Again, a drug doesn't heal the body. A drug stimulates the body into a healing mechanism. So that means that if a drug can do it, surgery can do it, then there's another way to do it too. And I see that there's doctors, and the reason why I think it's so important is they were taught to diagnose and prescribe. And what I have noticed is the ones that take health coaching that's the part of it that they were missing, because seeing somebody every 7 to 15 minutes doesn't imply coaching, and you can't. I mean, it's funny because I answer questions sometimes, like not so much anymore, but I was doing 400 to 500 questions a day for a year and a half, and to learn and feel. And I was answering questions, and then I'd be like, fix, and then I'd come out into my own team, and they would start bringing up ideas for me, and all I could do was fix. I wouldn't hear them because I had been fixing all day long. And I realized that I had to put space in between my answering questions and my addressing my team. So in other words, if I've been in the mode of doing this, I can't talk to you and help you. And this is where I see healthcare professionals that have been in high volume. This is where I see that their benefit of going into a health coaching program is to learn to have the tools that create space and how to continue the relationship in a way other than
Yeah.
diagnostic.
Yeah. And, certainly going into the profession themselves, also hiring health coaches to be a part of their team, right? With the understanding that I want people in my network and as part of my team to be able to do this with the patients I'm seeing, the clients I'm seeing. Um, you know, even the best intentioned, most holistic, physicians and practitioners still most usually have a limited amount of time, right? And also,
Yeah.
have this, and also there's the idea that they want to work at the top of their scope. Certainly there are a lot of things they can do that health coaches can't, and there's a space for that. And that whole thing of like, again, even the ones that are addressing lifestyle factors, it's like, oh, eat this Y and eat X, Y, and Z, walk 3 times a week, do this, do that, and then see me in 3 months or see me in 6 months. That nobody's ever changed
Yeah.
that way,
The
So yeah,
model's failing right now. Like objectively, every health and disease pathology, from mental, emotional to physical, is at its peak right now, today, by any measurement anywhere in the world.
mm,
We have between 38 and 55% of the healthcare professionals, the doctors, the clinicians that have left their station worldwide in the last 18 months. We have 55% more people going into that system today. There's no way that people are going to be successful in managing their health if they can't manage the fearful moments. And if the fearful moment is required to go into a hospital right
mm,
now, it's not going to work.
mm,
And this is where having somebody who is a coach can help talk you off a cliff, because sometimes it's just bringing some logic and reason. Sometimes it's just having a voice to talk to that's not somebody going, you got to go to a hospital.
mm,
You got to go. No, maybe you don't. Maybe you just need to talk about it for a minute. Maybe take the body out of the stress.
yeah,
One of the things that would be great, and we'd be, our intellectual property is free of charge. We'd be happy to help you even integrate some of it into it, some of the tools to relieve the stress. Because if people relieve stress and they eat, or they relieve stress and they're trying to make a change, I come in for a coaching appointment and I'm in stress, just doing that movement alone takes the body out of stress and makes the body programmable
mm,
again. Because when I'm in stress, I can't
yeah,
hear. I'll try to, but when you're coaching somebody, the first
mhm,
third of the appointment, you're just trying to
yes,
get them out of their head. Yeah.
yes,
So
mhm,
anything that you guys want to do to add that to your programs, and
mhm,
that's what we're doing. We have universities, colleges, sports programs all over the world that are taking this intellectual property, adding it. We want
yeah.
you to. That was my commitment to the world. It's happening and it's done. I'm moving on to the next side right now, which I'm super excited about.
What's the next side for you?
It's it's showing people what you can do when you perform. My body biologically is different than it was, and again, I part of the reason why I came on live every day is because I'm taking all of the doubt, all the skepticisms, all of the he did it another way out off the table. People watched me change and transform. They watched my face blow up once with an infection that I should have went and gone to a dentist or whatever and watched me handle it naturally. They saw me go from like 250 pounds down to 170 pounds and maintain it with very little active. So I want people, the next part is to show people the other side. Like once you're done getting the stress out of your body for 3 months, the trauma starts to come up. You got about 3 to 6 months of that. By the 12th month, you should be gone with 75 to 90% of the things that bother you, or they shouldn't bother you that much. And then you go into, what am I going to do with my
Right.
life again? Like, what would I do if I wasn't managing all of these stressful moments? And
Yeah.
that's where I'm going.
Yeah. Oh, I love it so much. There's a huge space for coaching there too. One of my favorite things is that a lot of times in like when you work with somebody in an initial coaching program, they'll be in that first phase that you just mentioned. And then they'll go into that second phase. All right, I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. Where do I go
Yeah,
from here? Well,
yeah,
we can continue to work together and explore that and make that happen, because that's a whole other ball game of like what becomes available to me now. What's
yeah,
possible?
yeah. I'm super excited about continuing our partnership.
Me too.
I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to meet. For anybody here that's on this right now, if you haven't got it yet, type help in the comment, or sorry, human in the comment. Help. Type human in the comment and you will get help. And type that in right away. And we're gonna get the chance to meet. We're coming to New York first part of June with sorry, with Spirituality Week. We're doing an event just venue dependent. It was scheduled to be 3,000 to 5,000 people, but it's venue dependent. I want to talk to you about that and how we can integrate with that. And if anybody is in our programs and you want some extra help, they can reach out to you and ask questions about the health programs at
Without a
IIN
doubt.
Nutrition School.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that, Gary. You can DM us. You can give us a call. We have people on an admissions team who are ready to help you out. You know, these aren't about sales calls. These are coaching calls to help you really figure out if coaching is right for you, if one of our other programs is right for you. We're here to support. And Gary, I'm doing your programs right now. I started today, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what my experience is and
Hey,
sharing.
send me a DM. Send me a DM with your information. I'm going to ship you out some stuff so you get the full experience.
Cool. Thank you.
Because our supplements are designed to eliminate all of their supplements.
Yeah.
If your body is functioning and processing, you don't need supplements. And what we do is we rebuild the mineral complex and take out the inflammation so that you can start absorbing again.
Yeah. Sounds good to me. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to what's next. Thank you for the time. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. I can't wait for the rest of the world to experience the magic of your programs.
Thank you. Likewise. And thank you everyone who joined us. We'll talk to you soon.